I just want to take a moment and thank my patrons for all the support. I truly appreciate it. And if you like this video, please consider clicking the like button or subscribing. It really helps the channel out. Thank you guys. Welcome to the Twisted Tentacle Inn. I'm your innkeeper, and today we'll be discussing the subclasses in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Today we'll be talking about the Ranger. This video series is not an in-depth look at the subclasses in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. It's just my first impressions, and my opinions might change with time as I see these classes played at the table or play them myself. So the first subclass we'll be discussing today is called the Fey Wanderer. When you choose this subclass at level 3, you get the Dreadful Strikes ability. So once per turn, you deal an extra 1d4 psychic damage when you hit a creature with a weapon. It's not a tremendous amount of damage, but at level 3, psychic damage could come in pretty handy. It also goes up to 1d6 at 11th level, so that's not too bad. It's nice that it works with ranged weapons. That's something that's not very common, and it's even better that if you hit multiple creatures, you can actually deal the extra damage multiple times in a round. It's just you can only deal that extra damage once per round per creature. So if you're attacking 2 separate creatures, this will come in very handy when you get multiple attacks per round. You'll actually be able to deal the extra damage to multiple creatures. So basically at level 11, when you get multiple attack, you're basically dealing an extra 3d6 at level 11 if you're attacking 3 different creatures, which is pretty strong actually. At level 3, you also get the Fey Wanderer magic feature. You get Charm Person as a spell, and then you can cast it with your normal spell slots, and it's always prepared. More spells is always welcome, and even though I don't think Charm Person is a particularly good spell, in social situations it could come in handy, so why not? At higher levels you get a few more spells that are always prepared. I think for Rangers, extra spells are more important than for Paladins, because Paladins tend to not use their spell slots for spells except on rare occasions, but Rangers do cast their spells pretty much in every session, so it's extremely important that they get more spells, and definitely more useful than it is for a Paladin. Let's take a closer look at some of the spells that you get. At 5th level, you get Misty Step, so now we're talking. Misty Step is a fantastic spell no matter what level you get it at, and no matter what class you are. So always being able to teleport, and especially as a bonus action, is fantastic. So this is really, really good, and I'm always happy to see Misty Step whenever you get it on any character class spell list. At 9th level, you get Dispel Magic. Again, another great spell. This one's a little bit more situational, but when you need it, it's great to have it. And the fact that you don't have to prepare it means that you don't have to waste a spell slot on a spell that can be circumstantial, but useful in certain circumstances. So when it's always prepared, it becomes infinitely better for a spell like this one. At 13th level, you get Dimension Door. This one's another great teleportation spell. A little redundant with Misty Step, but hey, whatever. You know, another way to teleport. Why not? And then at 17th level, you get Mislead. This is a cool spell. It's got a lot of utility potential, so not bad. Overall, a pretty decent spell list that you're getting for free here. Then also at 3rd level, you get a feature called the Otherworldly Glamour. So you get proficiency in Deception, Performance, or Persuasion. You also get a bonus to charisma checks equal to your wisdom modifier, which effectively boosts the skills that you just got with this feature, which is awesome because as a ranger, you're probably not focusing on charisma that much. So it's nice that it actually makes the skills a little bit more useful than if they just gave them to you for free with no additional boosts. So that's really nice. And of course, extra proficiencies are always welcome. The additional boost from your wisdom modifier means that, you know, they're not just for flavor, they're actually going to be useful in your character. At 7th level, you get Beguiling Twist. Gives you advantage on saving throws against fear or charm effects. This one's very helpful, especially if you're a frontline type of ranger. It's going to be extremely useful because those two effects tend to really disable a lot of frontline combatants, especially as you get to higher levels, so it's nice that you have advantage on those. Now, if you choose Halfling as your race, this ability is a little bit redundant with one of your traits, so it's something to keep in mind. You also get a really interesting ability that allows you to basically deflect fear or charm to another creature. So if you or another creature within 120 feet succeed on a save versus fear or charm, you can use your reaction and force a different creature to save against your DC, or they're charmed or frightened by you. This one's really interesting and unique. It has a great range and a variety of uses, and not only is it good against creatures that succeed against fear or charm effects that you use, but it also helps if your party members are casting fear or charm on other creatures, because if they succeed on their saves, then you can still use this, and so kind of like a fail-safe for your party that's trying to use these abilities. The ability doesn't require a creature to be friendly to you, so let's say your bard cast a charm spell on a creature and they succeed their save. Now you can go ahead and deflect it to another creature, so at least that spell isn't lost. Really, really cool. Very interesting. I really like this ability. It creates some great tactical options for your group. It helps with spells that fizzle because someone saved and they're either fail the save and get the effect, or succeed the save and nothing happens. So that's really good. And it works with your own spells, so that's even better. So if you try to frighten or charm a creature and they succeed their save, you can actually use your reaction and then choose a new target. So that's really, really good. Plus, if an enemy causes one of those effects on your group and someone succeeds their save, you can help turn the tide by debuffing them directly or one of their allies. And the best part, it doesn't have to be a spell. It's just a fear or charm effect. So even natural abilities from enemies that cause these effects fall under the umbrella for this ability. So that's really, really cool. I love this ability. It's great. It's very different, very unique. They thought outside of the box for this one. It's awesome. At 11th level, you get Fey Reinforcement. Holy ravioli. Oh my god. So this one is a really cool ability. You can cast Summon Fey without using a spell slot or material components, and you don't have to concentrate on it. Holy cannoli. So you can have, theoretically, 2 iterations of the spell on at the same time. So if you cast it over 2 rounds, let's say. I'm pretty sure I don't have to tell you how powerful this is. If you cast Summon Fey and you don't have to concentrate, and then the following round you cast Summon Fey again, now you got 2 Summoned Fey creatures, which are pretty strong and have magical abilities and extra effects that they do on the board. So your action economy is boosted tremendously because you have 2 extra party members. Your damage absorption is increased tremendously because now creatures, you're basically diluting the attacks from your opponents into 2 additional party members. So having the ability to do this is, it's cool, it's strong, but as a DM, I think honestly it could be broken. I haven't played with this one at the table yet, but if I was a DM, I would keep a really close eye on this ability and maybe modify it to not make it so broken and overpowered if it does become a problem at your table. So as a DM, keep an eye on it. As a player, if your DM allows it, abuse the hell out of it, because guess what? It's awesome. And at 15th level, you get the Misty Wanderer ability. You can cast Misty Step several times per day without using a spell slot, and you can take an ally with you every time that you cast it, even if you use a spell slot for it, which is really great. Even though you probably won't ever see it because you're probably not going to get to 15th level, take a shot. It's still a great ability. This is one of those that improves on an existing ability, but in a way where it's actually really helpful and really useful and enhances the flavor and abilities of the character. So overall, I think the Fey Wanderer is a fantastic ranger option. It's got some really interesting abilities that help make them very well-rounded, especially for a class that is normally derided as one of the worst classes right next to the monk. So having a great subclass within the ranger class is something that was definitely sorely needed. We got a few good ones in Xanathar's Guide to Everything, but I think Tasha's continued that and actually came out with something fantastic here with the Fey Wanderer. One ability on it that's probably too good to the point that is broken is that one where you can summon 2 or cast 2 Summon Fey spells or not have to concentrate on the Summon Fey spell. That's a little strong in my opinion, but you get it at a pretty high level. So basically it's an end game problem, which there's probably other problems that you're dealing with as a DM at that point in the game anyways. So I wouldn't think too hard about it unless that you plan on going that high of a level. The next subclass that we're going to discuss is the Swarm Keeper. At 3rd level, you get the Gathered Swarm feature. So you have like the swarm that follows you and gives you extra benefits after you hit a creature with an attack. So you can choose one of these, and then you can only use it once per turn. So you can either do the attack's target takes 1d6 piercing damage from the swarm, or that the target must succeed on a strength saving throw against your spell save DC, or they're moved against their will by the swarm up to 15 feet horizontally in a direction of your choice. Or you can choose that you are moved by the swarm 5 feet horizontally in the direction of your choice. The extra damage is not as good as the Fey Wanderer feature one, even though it's a D6, so it's a higher die instead of the Fey Wanderer's D4. The things about it that I don't like. First, it's non-magical piercing damage, which is highly resisted at even starting around level 5 or level 6. Also, the Fey Wanderer can deal damage more than once per turn, as long as they're hitting multiple targets, which the Swarm Keeper cannot do. But to make up for this, you have other options that aren't just limited to damage. You can move yourself, or you can force your target to save or be moved. So there's a little bit of a control factor here that can be handy or tactically beneficial, in addition to just dealing extra damage. So it does kind of weigh itself out and make up for the fact that you're not going to be able to deal as much damage as you could as the Fey Wanderer can. And plus, when your swarm moves you, you're not going to provoke attacks of opportunity since you're not the one that's moving willingly. So a very good way to kind of play a skirmish type game if that's the fighting style that you want to be using with this character. Overall, it's a pretty good ability. Options during combat are something that I really like, and good options during combat is what this subclass actually is delivering here. At 3rd level, you also get Swarm Keeper magic, so just like the Fey Wanderer, you get a few extra spells. The difference here, though, is you actually get a cantrip, which rangers don't usually have access to. It's Mage Hand, which has tons of utility functions and applications. So super useful, very, very cool that you're getting a cantrip as a ranger. I like that. Plus, you get additional spells known that are always prepared. So let's go ahead and look at those. At 3rd level, you get Fairy Fire. It's a great debuff spell that can help your party while you're in darkness. It's too bad that it's a concentration spell because rangers are very, very tight on their concentration. But it's still a good spell when you need it. At 5th level, you get Web. Again, a concentration spell, but I really like the Web spell for control. If you're looking to do some battlefield control, very few spells are as good as Web. At 9th level, you get Gaseous Form, a decent utility spell. It can be fantastic in the right situations. So this is one of those, like I was saying earlier, it's good to have these kind of more situational spells always prepared, because then you don't have to waste a preparation slot for a spell that you may not use that day. So if it's always prepared, you don't have to worry. It's great in certain situations, and it's going to be there when you need it for those certain situations. At 13th level, you get Arcane Eye, and this is one of the best exploration spells in the game, so great that you get that. And at 17th level, you get Insect Plague. This one is good AoE and a good control spell for full casters that probably is not going to be as good at 17th level. It's still nice that you get an AoE spell as a ranger that you normally wouldn't have access to. But since you're not a full caster and you're getting it at such a high level, I would say it's going to be mediocre by the time you get it. All right, so at 7th level, the feature that you get is called Writhing Tide. You gain a flight speed with hover several times per long rest. Fantastic. The speed is only 10, so it's not too fast, but not having to concentrate and it being a hover speed means that it's far safer than other flying options. Extremely useful in countless ways in and out of combat. And I think that most people understand that being able to fly is something that is automatically going to be good to great just out the gate. So great ability, of course. At 11th level, you get the Mighty Swarm feature. This is basically a boost to the Gathered Swarm ability. So each one of the things that you get to pick with Gathered Swarm gets a boost. The first one boosts the damage. So if you choose to do extra damage on an attack, it goes up from 1d6 to 1d8. I don't really care for this. Not only is it just 1 point of damage that's boosted, but it's piercing. It's non-magical piercing. So by this level, there's a lot of things that are going to be resistant or immune to it. That just sucks. I wish they would have, instead of boosting it to 1d8, made it a magical attack, or at least boost the damage to 1d10 to make up for the fact that it's not magical. And I mean, since it's only on one attack per round, it scales really poorly. I don't like it. So instead, if you choose to use the feature, the Gathered Swarm, to move your target, you can knock them prone if they failed their saving throw. This one's a little bit better. It slows the enemy down further because they have to use movement to get up. I like this one a lot better than the 1d8 damage. And then the final boost is when you're moved by your gathered swarm, it gives you half cover until the start of your next turn. So basically a bonus of +2 to your AC and dexterity saving throws. It's fine, nothing mind-blowing, especially for 11th level, it's kind of mediocre. The ability to move a creature and knock them prone probably becomes the best option of the three in most circumstances once you reach this level. I still like the fact that you have different options, and it's nice that they all get a boost, but I think that once you hit 11th level, it becomes more of like, why should I not move them and knock them prone instead of at earlier levels where my thought process would have been, which of these three things am I going to do? Move myself, deal extra damage, or move the enemy? So, yeah. At 15th level, your capstone is Swarming Dispersal. A few times per day, you can use your reaction to get resistance to damage that you just took, and then teleport up to 30 feet away. It's a great defensive ability. It can save you from dying and help you increase the distance between you and an enemy. So not bad. It's not the strongest capstone, but it's interesting, and it's pretty useful in some situations. So pretty good. So the Swarmkeeper Ranger is a very unique Ranger class. I like the theme. It's really interesting. The abilities are pretty good. It grants some great options for combat and utility. The bonus spells are also really good. Especially for exploration. I really like a lot of the spells that you get there. So it rounds out a pretty solid subclass option for Rangers. So to summarize, the Fey Wanderer and the Swarmkeeper are both two great subclasses with lots of options for damage, control, and utility. Although the two go about these things in different ways, both subclasses are great options for Rangers, and Tasha's Cauldron of Everything have given us some really, really solid Ranger choices that are very well-rounded and sound like they're going to be really fun character classes to play. The Fey Wanderer may be a little bit broken because of that 11th level ability, but aside from that, I think that it has a well-balanced suite of great abilities that make this subclass really fun to play as well. The Swarmkeeper is a bit more of like a Pied Piper type character with abilities and spells that grant some good options and situational advantages to Rangers that they don't normally have. Thematically, they're both really interesting. I like them both. I think Wizards nailed it with both of these in terms of flavor and theme. So I really like that. And they both have great potential for cool backstories and character quirks and things like that. So I like them both. So I think Wizards of the Coast realized that Rangers needed a lot of help because some people were very dissatisfied with the Ranger in 5th edition, and they wanted to give Rangers a little bit of a boost. They gave them a little boost in Xanathar's Guide to Everything, but I think in Tasha's they went above and beyond and gave us some really solid Ranger options here. All right, so let's go ahead and rank the subclasses. A quick note on my rankings, as I say in every video, when I rank a subclass, when I say bottom tier, mid tier, or top tier, it's not based on against other classes, subclasses. This is only within the Ranger subclasses. So if you know for sure you're going to play a Ranger, where do these fall in regards to versus all the other subclasses that are options for your Ranger character? All right, so let's take a look. Bottom tier, I have none. Mid-tier, I have none. And what a surprise and a shock. Top tier, I have both the Fey Wanderer and the Swarmkeeper. So that does it for my first impressions on the Ranger subclasses in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I do hope you found this video helpful. And if you did, please don't forget to click that like button or the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And if you have any comments, leave them down in the comments below. Until next time, I'm your Innkeeper Vasoden from the Twisted Tentacle Inn. Check in anytime. I'll talk with you then. Missy step is always a good step.